I never thought one simple moment could change the way I saw everything. It started out as just another ordinary evening. My son had invited his friend over, someone I had seen plenty of times before. Polite, well-mannered, always respectful. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but little did I know, the night would take an unexpected turn that I still think about to this day. At first, it was just small talk, casual conversation as I went about my usual routine. But then something shifted, a small, unexpected gesture, a comment that caught me off guard. It wasn't anything outrageous, nothing that should have made my heart race the way it did, but it did. And that's when I realized this was different. There was something about the moment that felt new, unfamiliar. I tried to brush it off, to act as if nothing had happened, but the feeling lingered. The atmosphere in the room changed, even if no one else seemed to notice. My mind was racing, questioning everything. Was it all in my head, or had something truly shifted? I had no idea that what happened next would be something I'd never forget. I tried to focus on something else, anything else, but my mind kept circling back to that moment. The way my son's friend had looked at me, not in a way that was obvious, but just enough to make me question if I was imagining it. I told myself I was overthinking. After all, I had known him for a while. He was practically family, always around, always comfortable in our home. But tonight, something felt different. As the night went on, I kept replaying that brief exchange in my head. It wasn't just the words, it was the tone, the energy, the way time seemed to slow down for just a second. I found myself becoming more aware of his presence, noticing little things I had never paid attention to before. The way he spoke, his confidence, how easily he fit into conversations. Had I just never noticed these things, or had they always been there, hidden in plain sight? I wanted to shake the feeling, to go back to how things were before. But the more I tried, the more impossible it became. And just when I thought I had a handle on it, something happened that made it clear. This wasn't in my head. I kept telling myself it was nothing, just my mind playing tricks on me. But the more I tried to push it away, the more aware I became of every little detail. The way he lingered a second longer when he spoke to me. How his eyes held mine just a bit too long before looking away. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable. But I noticed. Dinner felt like a test. I tried to act normal, to focus on the conversation, but my thoughts kept slipping. I studied my son's friend in a way I never had before, picking up on his expressions, his body language. Was I imagining the way his tone softened when he spoke to me? The way his attention seemed just a little more focused on me than the others? And then, in a single moment, everything shifted again. A small, almost accidental touch. Barely anything. But it was enough to send a shiver up my spine. Enough to make my breath catch. Enough to make me realize this night wasn't going the way I had expected. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air heavier. My heart pounded, but I kept my expression neutral, pretending nothing had changed. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe that brief touch meant nothing. But deep down, I knew it did. It wasn't just the touch. It was the look that followed. Quick, fleeting, but unmistakable. A silent moment passed between us, too fast for anyone else to notice, but slow enough to make my stomach tighten. I turned away, forcing myself to focus on anything else. My son was talking, laughing, completely unaware of the tension I was trying so hard to ignore. I nodded, pretending to listen, but my thoughts were elsewhere. Every movement, every glance, every unspoken word seemed amplified. And then, just when I thought the moment had passed, something happened that made it impossible to ignore. A choice, a decision, one that would change everything. Just as I steadied myself, convincing my mind to let it go. The unexpected happened. A sudden power outage. Darkness swallowed the room in an instant. My son groaned, fumbling for his phone flashlight, while his friend let out a low chuckle, as if the situation amused him. My pulse quickened. The shift in atmosphere, the silence between flashes of light, it all made the moment feel heavier, more intense. Then, in the cover of darkness, I felt it. A presence closer than it should have been. A whisper, barely audible, near my ear. "Are you okay?" The words were harmless, but the way they were said wasn't. My breath hitched. I could feel the warmth of his presence before he stepped back, as if nothing had happened. The lights flickered back on, and everything looked normal again. But I knew better. That moment in the dark had changed everything. The room buzzed back to life as the lights fully returned, but my mind was still stuck in that moment of darkness. I glanced at him, searching for any sign that it had actually happened, that I hadn't imagined the quiet words, the closeness, the shift in energy. But his expression was unreadable, his focus back on my son, as if nothing had changed. Maybe nothing had. Maybe I was reading too much into everything. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to brush it off. I needed to regain control of the situation, of my thoughts. But just as I did, my son's friend turned, catching my eye with the smallest hint of a knowing smile. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it sent a wave of realization through me. He knew. He was aware of the tension just as much as I was. A sudden knock at the door broke the moment. My son got up to answer, and as I exhaled, relieved by the interruption, I heard a quiet voice beside me. "You felt it too, didn't you?" My stomach tightened. There it was, confirmation. I wasn't imagining things. But before I could respond, my son returned, and just like that, the moment was gone. Everything seemed normal again. Except it wasn't. That night, as I lay in bed, I realized something. I would never forget this feeling, and somehow, I knew this wouldn't be the last time it happened. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my head. The looks, the words, the way the air had shifted between us. It wasn't just in my imagination. He had confirmed it. That quiet moment before my son walked back into the room had made it real. But what did it mean? And more importantly, what was I supposed to do with it? Morning came too quickly. I moved through my routine as if nothing had changed, but everything felt different. When my son's friend walked into the kitchen, his expression was the same as always, calm, casual, completely normal. For a moment, I wondered if I had dreamed the whole thing. But then, just before he left, he looked at me again. Not for long, just a second, but enough to send a quiet message. We both know what happened. And just like that, he was gone. I stood there for a while, processing it all. Maybe this moment would fade with time, becoming just another passing memory. Or maybe, in ways I couldn't yet understand, it would stay with me forever. Some experiences change you, even if they don't lead anywhere. This was one of them.